When you think of intriguing cases in the USA, your mind probably races to tales of masterminds, dramatic courtroom showdowns, or maybe some high-stakes political scandal. But then, just when you think you've seen it all, along comes the case of Sydney West, a story so quirky, bizarre, and utterly fascinating that it demands a closer look. So buckle up, grab your popcorn, and prepare to dive into one of the most eyebrow-raising legal sagas you've never heard of. Who is Sydney West? Sydney West isn't your typical headline-grabbing character. In fact, if she were a movie star, she'd be the quirky indie film protagonist everyone roots for but can't quite figure out. A small-town girl with big city dreams, Sydney's life was as unassuming as your average cup of morning coffee, until, of course, the whole intriguing case thing happened. The incident that started it all. Picture this. A sunny afternoon in the sleepy town of Millville, somewhere deep in the heartland. Sydney, armed with nothing but her wit and a suspiciously oversized backpack, decides to take a shortcut through the town's historic cemetery. Yes, we're already off to a dramatic start. Who chooses a cemetery as a shortcut? Sydney West, that's who. Things get weird fast. According to reports, Sydney was found near an ancient mausoleum, apparently trying to communicate with the dearly departed. Now, whether she was channeling the spirits, rehearsing for a role in a supernatural play, or just really into Halloween vibes, the townsfolk weren't too sure what to make of it. But that's not even the weirdest part. Enter the mystery object. While Sydney was minding her own ghostly business, an elderly local named Mr. Haggerty noticed something strange poking out of her backpack. A small, glowing orb emitting a faint humming sound. Naturally, Mr. Haggerty, who had seen one too many sci-fi movies, immediately assumed Sydney was involved in some alien shenanigans. Before long, the local police were called in, and the glowing orb was confiscated for analysis. The entire town buzzed with speculation. Was Sydney West some kind of extraterrestrial contact? A secret government agent? Or just an eccentric girl with a penchant for weird collectibles? The investigation. Unraveling the truth. The FBI quickly joined the investigation, intrigued by the orb and Sydney's strange behavior. They subjected the object to a battery of tests, X-rays, chemical analysis, even a few questionable, alien tech detectors that looked suspiciously like metal detectors. Turns out, the glowing orb was nothing more than a fancy LED keychain from a local novelty shop. Yes, the big mystery was solved. Sydney was just carrying around a gimmicky toy. But that didn't stop the media circus. Media frenzy. From small town to national spotlight. Once the news got out that Sydney West might be involved in alien activity, her life changed overnight. Reporters camped outside her house, conspiracy theorists flooded social media, and local coffee shops renamed their Millville Mocha to Sydney's Cosmic Brew. Okay, that last one might be a stretch, but you get the picture. Sydney, ever the good sport, played along. She gave cheeky interviews, posting memes about being the town's official ghost whisperer, and even started selling glow-in-the-dark bracelets to raise money for the local library. Talk about turning a strange situation into a marketing goldmine. The courtroom drama, sort of. The legal side of things? Surprisingly low-key. Sydney was never charged with anything. After all, carrying a glowing keychain through a cemetery isn't illegal. However, the case sparked debates about privacy, public space usage, and the dangers of jumping to conclusions based on a glowing toy. Sydney's lawyer, who we'll call the defender of the weird, used the opportunity to advocate for the rights of eccentric citizens everywhere. Because let's face it, the world could use a little more eccentricity and a little less paranoia. The aftermath. Sydney's newfound fame. Today, Sydney West is something of a local legend. Her quirky story is told around campfires, featured in town newsletters, and occasionally referenced in weird news segments nationwide. She even hosts an annual Glow Keychain Festival in Millville, drawing visitors from all over who want to celebrate the weird and wonderful. Sydney's story reminds us that sometimes, the most intriguing cases aren't about crime or conspiracy, but about how a little curiosity, a dash of misunderstanding, and a glowing keychain can turn an ordinary day into an unforgettable adventure. Why the case of Sydney West still captivates us. So why does this odd little story stick in our minds? Maybe it's because it's a perfect mix of mystery, humor, and a pinch of humanity. It's a reminder that behind every headline, there's a real person, sometimes awkward, sometimes hilarious, and often just trying to make it through the day without too much drama. Or maybe, just maybe, it's because who wouldn't want to believe that a glowing orb might really be out there, waiting for the next Sydney West to come along and start chatting with the stars? If you ever find yourself wandering through Millville and hear whispers about a girl with a glowing keychain and a ghostly smile, you'll know the legend of Sydney West is very much alive, and still lighting up the imagination of anyone willing to listen.